If infidelity is something you've had to deal with, then you are in the right place. Infidelity is essentially a betrayal of trust, and it doesn't really matter whether your partner is developing an emotional connection or a physical one with another person. The result is all the same. And look, though I've never had to personally have to deal with it, and fingers crossed I'll never have to, I can completely empathise and imagine just how earth-shattering it must feel and if your partner is unfaithful to you. And though for many couples, it's often too much to come back from, which leads to breakups, it doesn't always have to mean the end of the marriage. With patience and work from both sides, couples can find a way to rebuild the trust and connection that once existed between them. And I've realised that in theory or on paper, it all sounds way too easy and simple, as if we could just summon a fairy godmother to wave her wand and suddenly, with little effort, everything would just be fine again. Of course, the reality is always way more complicated than that. So the obvious question is, how do you know if giving it a second chance is the right thing to do? You might want the relationship to recover, but is working at it the best and healthiest decision for you? It's tough, and perhaps the best option for you would be to find someone to talk to and go over the details of your specific case. Someone who could advise you in person, but completely confidential. If that is something you feel you need, then head down to our description and check out the link for our recommended counselling service. And if you are after something a bit different, stay and watch. Because today we will look at some examples when walking away from a marriage that suffered from infidelity might be the right choice to make. Such as, for instance, when your partner does not show any remorse or understanding of the significance of what they had done. Saying sorry isn't always enough. If your spouse can't show you how truly remorseful they are, how can you trust that they aren't going to tell you what you want to hear? It's possible that they may just want to gloss over what happened and go back to normal, but you're going to have to figure out a new normal together first. The biggest problem is that it's very difficult to tell if someone is genuinely sorry, especially when the trust between you has been broken and you're just waiting for them to make another mistake. Saying sorry and trying to sweep things under the carpet may be a good thing, especially if both of you are trying to move on, but this all depends on the reasons and motivations that person has. If they're just after some sort of quick fix, you can be sure you won't notice any change in their actions or behaviour, and the relationship will quickly slip right back to where it's been just before all the shit happened. So ask yourself, are they paying you more attention, making more effort in the relationship and putting your happiness higher up their priority list? Are they just trying to justify their actions or being unfaithful and belittle how you feel? And I get it, like I've said before, real life is always way more complex than we imagine, which means that the answer to why your partner became unfaithful will never be straightforward and often not as simple as saying that they are the only guilty ones. Infidelity is like a disease, an infection that slowly grows inside your relationship as a direct cause of the dynamics of such relationships, thus is very rarely due to a single person. Simply said, you both contributed to one way or another, but they were the weaker ones and fucked up. Whatever factors led them to be unfaithful, however, they should at least be genuinely sorry for causing you pain, putting the already fragile relationship under further stress and shattering the trust that you had for each other. That is, unless the lack of trust was initially the cause for the infidelity. If that is the case, perhaps talking to a professional could be the way to get through it. Many of us don't realise this, but not all are made equal. Not everyone is great at sharing their inner thoughts and concerns, expressing their emotions, or even talking when it comes to matters of the heart. Some of us, despite living in a relationship for years, are still unable to fully express ourselves directly and often need something else. Some people like to write letters and long emails when they feel like they just need to let it all out. Others need to have an impartial person to speak to. Either way, finding a way to let it all out and discuss things can not only clarify things and clear the air, but always leads to self-discovery and realisation you may have never considered. Counselling is certainly one of the best ways to deal with it. The presence of an impartial authority, an experienced professional who has had a chance to deal with a myriad of different scenarios and versions of the same problem is often the best mediator in the matters of the heart. The problem starts when your unfaithful partner refuses to see a professional. There is no shame in reaching out to someone who can help you communicate your feelings and guide you back to common ground. But what if your partner refuses to go along with you? The reluctance to seek professional guidance, especially if something you want to pursue, suggests that you aren't willing to go that extra mile to save what you have. Trying to avoid facing what they have done suggests that they don't understand the full extent of the stress that they've put your relationship under, or simply don't care. They should want to do whatever they can to make your marriage work and show that they're willing to go the distance, however uncomfortable it is for them. If they're not, perhaps they don't value your relationship as much as you thought they did. You can't expect everything to go back to how it used to be before the affair took place. You and your spouse should be prepared for your relationship to change if you decide to give it another go. More than that, your relationship needs to change. You need to see your partner putting in more effort to win back your trust, spending time reconnecting, and get comfortable around each other again. And the same goes for you. It's very rare that the cracks in a marriage are due to a fault of a single partner, one of them is unfaithful. Bad habits and neglect of a relationship, lack of intimacy, taking things for granted and lackluster attention of detail and the needs for the other person can slowly culminate in the infidelity of one of the partners, whether due to circumstances, opportunities, or sometimes even just by chance. All of these issues need to be addressed if you want to move on. It's unrealistic to expect everything to be as it once was. And if your partner expected this of you, you need to question how committed that they are to making things work. And at the end of the day, why would you even want to go back to the way it was if there was something that ultimately led to their infidelity? What you really need is to address these things, whether together or with the help of an impartial counsellor, and move on. Strive for something better, improve and grow. Making your marriage work after an affair is going to take more effort and stronger commitment from both of you than ever before. If their bad habits haven't changed and you're falling back into the same unhealthy relationship patterns, how can you trust history won't repeat itself? And if they're not willing to change, why should you? At the end of the day, it's fairly simple. Judge their actions rather than what comes out of their mouth. And unless you've seen a change in their behaviour, perhaps it's time to move on alone rather than trying to patch things up, only to later find out that now the walls have rotten and more leaks are inevitable. Be honest with yourself about what it is you're trying to save. Do you genuinely still want to be with this person? Or is it just pride over fear being alone that's making you stay? Even if you're committed for all the right reasons and believe you can give things another go, there could still come to a point where you have to face the difficult decision of whether or not to stay. As long as you can say you've tried, and there can be no shame or regret in admitting defeat. Thanks for watching and good luck. Bye.